We are
Didi
and Armand, and in our daily lives we support people on the path of self-liberation. We teach time-tested energy skills like Qigong, Tai Chi, internal alchemy, traditional nutrition and meditation.
We help people release stagnation, build energy, and become aligned with themselves and their purpose in life.
In this podcast we share the methods, skills and solutions that helped us, our students and now hopefully you move forward.
Let's explore transformation together. Yeah, and what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're talking about my Tai Chi adventure so far.
Yeah.
How it started, what I learned along the way, and the impact it had, and not only on me, but also
on our lives.
on our lives.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
because it's been quite a journey.
It has been, yeah.
And it still is, of course, because
we're still in it.
still in it.
And growing every day.
Well, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So where did it all started?
Well, it started in 2002, so that's quite a long time ago already. It's still this century, but it's yeah. Well, in 2002, I was at a point where I discovered that something had to change in me in order to move on with myself. Yeah. So I had quite some time that I could blame everything around me. Maybe that's recognizable, but at a certain point I was like, no, I really need some development here of myself, So it was quite a low point in my life. One of the main things was that my concentration would be all over the place, and I was a working musician in those days, a drummer. And I found at one gig it was fine, the other gig it was just terrible, and I just wanted to figure out what that was. Yeah. What was making this hilly landscape in my life? It was like up, down. And I just didn't have any skill about, over myself in that way. Yeah. So you could say I was quite, I was also energy-wise, I was going all over the place. And I don't think I was really taking care of myself that well. Plus, it was a life of, it was really irregular. So it would be late nights. If you're a working musician, you're on the road when everyone is sleeping. It's like it's a totally different lifestyle. So I was looking for that. So I went and looked for some help to talk to some people about that. And one person pointed me to this book, and this book is this is the Dutch version, but it's The Power of Now, written by Eckhart Tolle. A very famous book, of course. Most of you probably know it. Yeah. And this book was given to me by a great woman, a very wise woman. And she said, this book will definitely change your life because it says it all. So I got it. I remember the day I bought it and where I bought it, and I read it. And, well, maybe you can see it. I was quite serious about it. See? Look at all those pages being marked. Because there's something so deeply resonating about the now. I was like, what now? Now? There's something in now that's pretty important. There's something resonated deep inside me. So, but the funny thing is that led to other things happening in my life, because when I discovered this book, that was somewhere around June 2002, and then in beginning of July, I met you. Yeah. So you decide you want to work on yourself, and then, like within a month or maybe a month and a half, I meet you.
Yes.
And that was just great, and we've been together ever since. So, and then after that, I went to visit my mom in England because, well, we're in Holland. I was living in Holland at that time. But my mom, she moved away in the 90s, and she lived in York in those days. And she had a relationship with Graham Barry, who's still teaching Tai Chi in Scotland at this moment, in the Langham district, Lockerbie, Langham, Dumfries, Galloway area. And, I went there. I already booked a trip there, and you had another trip. You went with a friend to the Alps in Switzerland. Yeah. And then I went over there And I joined Graham on his lessons. He was teaching all around York at those days. He was teaching at universities, and some of you may even know him, because he's still teaching, and he taught a lot of people. So I went with him, and I was like, what is this? Yeah. This is something completely different. And it was slow, it was nice, and I was just fascinated. And in that same holiday, we also went up to Scotland. And there's a beautiful campsite, the Red Squirrel, in Scotland. And we were there, and he would do his form every night. And I would just join him. So I started talking about it with him, and I'm like, what is it? He says it's a martial art. And I'm like, okay. I mean, this slow stuff is a martial art? You're sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a martial art. And I had been training karate when I was a kid and things like that. And I was like, wow. But I was fascinated because of the slowness, the stillness that was around it when we're training. So that stuck with me. When I came back, I didn't immediately go seek out Tai Chi lessons or something like that.
We did have a look at it, but it
didn't.
Was, yeah.
I couldn't find the martial art thing.
Yeah.
There was Tai Chi all over the place, but not martial art. No. So, I let it rest for a while. I was working on other things at that time. But then we made a move, and we went to The Hague, which is one of the big cities in Holland, and that's where the government is. And, it was within 6 months living there.
About 6 months.
That you found, and that's the funny thing, you were on internet.
Yeah, you were always talking about the Tai Chi and about Graham, and when we moved to The Hague, I was like, okay, let's have a look.
Well, and I was looking for something because I already was also investigating, maybe go learn Zen Buddhism. I was already investigating a little bit, like I really need something now. I was pretty desperate.
Yeah. So, and I just went on the internet and I found a website and I was like, this might be it.
Yes.
And that was Roel Janssen.
Yeah, Roel Janssen, a pretty famous teacher here in Holland. I mean, he's pretty obscure, but he wrote a couple of books and who sold pretty well about Tai Chi. Very interesting guy. His School of the Crane, it's translated in English. School van de Kraanvogel in Dutch. He had a beautiful website and all these stories about his own training. He used to train Kung Tao. That's what he learned first. And Kung Tao is like sort of wrap-up name for the Chinese traditional martial arts, which came from China to Indonesia, and then from Indonesia, because there's a connection with Holland and Indonesia, they eventually came here, and that's where he learned from Mr. Tan, as he was called. And he had all these beautiful stories about his adventures. He learning from Mr. Tan in his attic, and really closed door teachings and training. And I was like, wow, I was fascinated.
Yeah.
And we started with 10 private lessons. We were like,
we thought, okay, well, see if 10 lessons will give you a start, and then you can do it yourself or something.
It's like, you don't know what you're getting into, right?
Know. Yeah.
So I went over there, and the first lesson was just standing practice, just standing Qigong practice. And like, whoa, what is this? And I was fascinated. And he said, you're going to do this 20 minutes a day, every day. And I'm like, okay. But I couldn't hold the 20 minutes the first time I trained it. I was like, whoa, we were standing pretty low, and it was pretty exhausting, and my energy was low at that time. Yeah. And but I stuck with it, and that just transformed me. Because there was this stillness in this training, because I had to open my joints, had to stand there, had to come past my own resistance, because at some point you just want to step out of it because it's so heavy on the legs and everything. My legs would just be trembling. But in the first year I only had private lessons, because I was also teaching drums, and the regular class hours I couldn't come, so it was only private teaching. But from there, I was invited within a year into his core group with people who were, training more and more times a week. And from there, he invited me into his backyard during the day. And at a certain point, I had like 4 to 5 times lessons a week. And we were learning everything. We were learning the standing. We were learning the forms. We were learning all the partner training. We were learning the Kung Tao. We were learning iron shirt things and Paida, bone training. I was bruised constantly. I had muscle aches constantly, but for me it was like a wake up thing.
And I think also at home you trained every day
for hours. Yeah.
So it was
hooked.
just something that really came at the right time, right place.
Totally.
And it really settled into your life from the start.
Absolutely. And Roel was not only trained in the martial arts, he was also into Taoism.
Yeah.
He had been going to the Leiden University here. He was studying sinology, I think it's also called. He studied China studies, studying the language and the culture and everything. And he, at a certain point, was also a student of Christopher Schipper, who's a very famous Taoist, actually, Dutch person who wrote a couple of books, some are standard work. But this Taoism thing, Roel talked a lot about that, especially during our private conversations with the private lessons. We talked a lot about the spiritual aspect of the training. So we were doing everything, but I was getting more and more fascinated about the spiritual side of things. I also started learning Qigong, and I was like, at the beginning, I was a little bit resistant to it. I was like, "What is this?" I was like, we were way more into the physical aspects of it, but the combination of these Taoist talks and talking about development and building skill over yourself, started meditating, started the Qigong. I think that opened another door. And that brought us a lot closer to what was also written in this book. So it's so funny, if you start with something, is that, it's like all these doors open and everything come into your life.
Sometimes you think like this book, you think, oh, you read it once and you think, oh, I get the idea.
Yeah.
But then you grow into it, you take other steps and things, and then you read it again and you think, oh, the first time I read it, it was so shallow. I couldn't feel the depth that was underneath. And it was more a starting point than something, oh, when I get this, then I have it all.
Well, you can have it on a basic understanding level maybe, but that doesn't mean it's in your experience, right? And I know so many people who've read this book and are like, well, it's all nice, but now what? Now I have to get it into my into your life. Yeah, and that started happening more and more with Roel. So we had a great training relationship, also on a personal level. I met some beautiful people there training because the school was small. He used to have a bigger school, but then he decided, no, I want to teach very, practical and authentic. And I was so lucky to have met him. I couldn't have met a better teacher in Holland, for sure. It was just great. I trained there for 11 years. And there came a point where he said, well, we're repeating ourselves. You know what to do. You know how to move on with what I've taught you. And I was already given a diploma by him. He was like, okay, you have a teacher diploma. And I started teaching in 2012. But then in 2017, we were like, okay, this is ready. The training is
and maybe
done.
It's good to tell as well what we started out with. How did it transform our lives as well? Is that Roel was actually the one to give me a book about 5-element food.
Yeah.
And which started my journey going back or studying 5-element food.
Yeah.
And studying, studying again, studying herbs, studying food, studying 5 elements. So it started my journey in a way as well. And and also putting that into practice into our lives.
Absolutely, but you couldn't be around Roel without, being surrounded with books, because he's got shelves of books, about martial arts and everything in Chinese. He reads Chinese and in everything, but also he started studying acupuncture at a certain point, and then he brought this book and about the 5-element food, which was sort of part of the curriculum. Yeah. Not too deep, I think, but it fascinated you. He gave you the book.
Oh, yeah. And he gave me some other books as well, just to look at and to interest me into, okay, is this something for you? So I think Roel was very important for us, both of us, to really transform our lives.
It's amazing, and still going on till this day. With everyone I teach, or we talk about, or with the food, it all leads back to to that, and that's that we can only be so thankful for that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this just keeps growing every day.
Yeah, and it's not just the food; it changes how you look at things, how you look at every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just stop there.
No, it creeps in everything.
It sets off a journey.
Oh, totally. So it has changed everything, and we're so lucky with each other that we can grow together, right? Yeah. So there's no one is holding anything back. There's this, that, and we have the experience. Is this good for us? Yeah, and then we do it, and that's just amazing. So in 2017, at the end of my training with Roel Jansen, I was like, well, I can't stop here. I have to move on as well. And then he suggested to go to Mark Rasmus, Sifu Mark Rasmus, who I not really had heard of, because I was not really online or checking everyone out. I was so into his training. I was just, I'm going for that. And then I sort of woke up, went on the internet, looked Mark Rasmus up on in his channel. I was like, whoa, wow, yeah. This is more into the spiritual side of things. This is more about, this can fill in some of the gaps that I don't really understand yet. Yeah. And boy, was I in for a treat. I sent him an email and I went on his Vimeo channel, and wow.
Yeah. And it was, sometimes you think, oh, coincidence. Does it?
No, this is no coincidence.
No coincidence, because I lived in Thailand when I was 16 as an exchange student, AFS student. And in 2017, I was thinking, I haven't seen my host parents for a while, and I should really go and visit them, and I really missed them. So I wanted to go there. So I bought the tickets. We were planning a trip, and then this happened with Roel, that he said, "You're ready."
Yeah.
I cannot really teach you anymore. So we had this trip planned, and then he was talking about Mark Rasmus, who was on the corner of where
the north of Thailand, Chiang Mai, and
close by to where my host parents
lived.
We
were like, wow, this is no coincidence.
No.
So we went there in 2017, and I had a half a year of preparation being on his Vimeo channel, and I was already scanning that, and there were so many things that started to make sense, but I couldn't have understand without the previous training, right? Because he's a martial artist in heart and soul, but he's also really into hermetics. He's probably one of the main teachers on that subject. And hermetics is, you could say, an esoteric training, just like you could say Taoism is, but then really, how you say it, there's no religion around it or anything. It's all about self-improvement and getting into equanimity and making sure that the qualities we have as a human can come out again, because we're getting more equanimous, and from there getting more and more on our own path and being, the master of our path. And that just appealed to me so much. So this first time with him, and being prepared, of course, because I made sure I was going to visit him, was we could go deep instantly. And I was like, wow, this is what this is what I've been looking for. And so I've been there 3 times in Thailand, and went through the training, and that just mixed with what I've learned from Rule. So I had my Tai Chi, I had the applications, but now we're going way deeper into Chi and way deeper into the energetic side of things, and mind-blowing meditation and everything. And that's creeped its way in my teaching as well. So a lot of you might recognize my videos doing a lot of the stuff that Mark Rasmus is teaching. But also it's based on the things I've learned from Roel Janssen. It's only a mix, you know. It can, and I teach the things that appeal the strongest to my own journey.
And your own.
Yeah.
Your own journey.
And my own experience.
Experience with it.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful mixture.
Yeah, so the stillness I was looking for in the beginning is becoming completely normal. So it's starting to come around full circle now. It's like, where it was like reading this and like, wow, yeah, this resonates, but it's fake. Is very clear now, and that's just great. It's just awesome. So this Tai Chi journey is still evolving, you know, because the teaching it and is like someone said to me, like, you can only be really good if you teach.
Yeah.
Well, I did that with music. I knew that, of course. So, and it was not really a question, although it was sometimes a bit weird because I gave up my music career completely. I stopped with that and did make this my journey.
But sometimes you wonder if what you were looking for in music, is that not also the thing that you are looking for?
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's getting into equanimity and into the zone and being free of your monkey mind and so this whole, especially the Qigong part of things, is all about releasing stagnation.
Yeah.
On every level. So physical, but also emotional and mental. So making sure that something higher can move through you and can manifest itself here, you know, and that. So the whole training is all about recognizing where you're holding on to something that you should let go and then see it evolve. And so it's all about the cultivation of more stillness and the cultivation of more space. If you give things space, your body, your emotions, your mental body, then we can move into the higher regions of our consciousness, and that's when the magic automatically starts happening, because it's on that level. So this freeing up process is what it's all about, you know. Yeah. And that's also my aim for what I teach. But I'm not only on this part of like, okay, let's do only Qigong. No, I also teach the martial side of things. I do that because I know that I was so confronted with my own resistance that at a certain point you have to let go, because I was pretty heavy in the beginning. I would walk away out of lessons. I've just walked away. I was like, I can't do this. This guy is just blah blah. I was always pointing at other people until I found it's my own resistance I have to take care of. So I make sure that I teach people that as well, because this physical side of things is also very important.
And how do you see it appear in other aspects of your life, like in the training, in the teaching, but how you experience life? Or
well, there's just more stillness constantly. Yeah. I mean, I have this thing that I say to people is that, okay, let's take the metaphor of a bridge. I say, if you want stillness in your life, if you want equanimity in your life, it's like you start building a bridge across a river, right? And you build your part of it. And then when you have built your half and you step on your half of your bridge, don't be surprised that the other half is there. Because silence, if you seek stillness, stillness is going to find you. Right? And that's so important of this training because it's all about the now, getting there. So every stone you lay there, every brick you put there, every piece of wood you put there to build your bridge is gonna build on the other side as well. And stillness will meet you halfway. And that's where the liberation is. And there are so many ways to this, but Tai Chi is definitely a great one, is to get into stillness and get into the... So that's what I've in my I don't have the urge now to after this, I recognize my monkey mind instantly, and I tend to just not touch it. I've learned to not touch things inside me and outside me. Whereas when I was younger, I would always be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm like, let it go. It will move on. It will just don't touch it. You can see it, but don't touch it. And that's made me, just a better person in general, but gave me lots more power because you're not spending all your energy on things that just don't matter, right? Yeah. So you're getting way, way more to the point of what it's all about. And yeah.
And opportunities come. You see we all get opportunities in our lives, but you see them more clearly.
Absolutely, but you see it also in the sort of students that seek me out now and that come my way. I sometimes open the door and I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize you. Come in. It's like someone said, like a teacher seeks the student, but the student also seeks the teacher. And there's some magic in there. There's no coincidence. Yeah. It's like in how we met, how this book came into my life. Yeah. How Roel Janssen came into our lives, and how Mark Rasmus came into our lives. And all these beautiful people I teach came into my life and come into my life. And that's just gives me goosebumps, is that you can sort of pass this torch with whatever I know about Tai Chi, because I'm no master, I'm a teacher, it's like I'm still training and learning. Is that just gives me goosebumps that you can take people on this journey. Yeah. Which is so wonderful and beautiful, and
there's always an exchange. Your students are also your teacher.
Oh, totally. They with what they come back with and the things they say, and I'm like, questions, whoa. Yeah. So I'm eternally grateful for all these teachers and all these students who are also teachers, right? And that's the great thing. My teachers were also students, still. They're training. They don't have this behavior of I'm a master or any of that kind of BS. No. These people are so sincere and want to share what they know. And I come from the same place. I couldn't do it any different. And it's especially in Tai Chi, there are so many things that people don't say, and maybe that's culture. I don't know. It's it's like, this is reserved for the inner student, and the outer student shouldn't know that, or whatever kind of thing. I couldn't do that, and I think I teach in the same way. I couldn't do it any different.
And it's still some people get it, and some people you see. Some people are not ready for it yet.
It's true.
Then that's okay too.
That's okay. Maybe they have found a little bit of it and that helped them a little bit, and that's fine as well. Yeah. But there's more and more people who are just, are on the escalator with me. I'm just a couple of steps higher, but they just move with me, and you see them change. You see they change their jobs, their relationships, their everything, because they're like, okay, getting rid of all this stagnation. This is stagnation in my life. This job is stagnating. This is stagnating. And what I said, they're building this bridge as well. Yeah. And you see it in them. They become much clearer, much more.
That's so beautiful.
Grounded, but also connected with a higher purpose, because it's a spiritual training. Yeah, it is.
And it all led up to the podcast.
And also this as well. And what we're doing now. And what we want to...
And doing this together. Yeah. So it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Wow.
What a journey.
Yeah. That was great to hear in one go.
Yeah. It's nice to talk about it in this half hour. So, I hope you got something out of it and got to know me a little bit better.
Yeah.
And we'll be back definitely.
Absolutely.
With more stories
and more stories and more lessons. So
absolutely.
Hope to see you next time or here.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.